Good afternoon, everyone. This is the long version of the ceramic ghost tutorial, and I'm going to give you a few more extra tips and tricks to kind of make your ceramic ghosts the best that they can be. Just as a little inspiration, we'll start with some of the finished products. These ghosts, when they're all together, can be so cute. Some of the things that we're looking for before we really get going on this is kind of a unique floating sort of feel to these. They're just basic slabs, but how you drape the clay really is going to make a huge difference in how cute these are. So yeah, anytime there can be almost like trying to capture almost like wind blowing the sheet. I will also occasionally make little sort of baby ones. So for size reference, I think this is the largest one I have in this batch and the smallest. I usually do a variety of them, and when I list them, I will often show them in sets of 4. And that way people are more likely to buy more than one because they see it as, oh, it's the family, and they get the whole family of ghosts. So that can help you too. Is basically a Pac-Man, making mostly a circle, and then I'm cutting a triangle section out of that circle. So then I'm going to go ahead, and this is very wet clay, so I'm not needing to score and slip. So once I have my singular piece of clay, I'm going to go ahead and make where the head of the ghost would be. So I'm looking at making something, and depending on how big the circle is, I may change which tool I'm using in the middle. So I'm just pushing the clay down around that and sort of letting it fall where it wants to fall. Kind of thinking of these edges as sort of the folds of the fabric over the ghost. Sometimes if I see a spot that is a little bit more like where I would want the face, then I'll go ahead and smooth that out a little bit more. All right, there's one ghost. Circle, Pac-Man. Not sure how my slab is quite so thick in the middle, but I don't need it quite that thick. In fact, I'd rather it be a little thinner on the edges. So I'm going to let it thin that piece out just a little bit. Where you're making your join is a little bit weak, so the head that I'm making is more here than there. So that's why it's a Pac-Man and not all the way towards the center. So you're getting a little bit thicker section of clay in the middle here. And then again, possibly a little bit of extra smoothing where you think the face might want to be. So, might do a face. I feel like he's a little pokey on the head, this one. Yeah, poke that part down a little bit. I think the face will probably be maybe here. Oh, there we have a little tinier ghost. Next, I'm taking a wet sponge and I'm smoothing all of these outer edges. So you don't want to have anything that's going to be raised up or messing it up. So sometimes these little grooves can become kind of sharp once they get glaze on them and they're fired. So this is the stage where it's sort of the safest to get rid of any of those imperfections. You really don't want to be sanding down your clay after it's already been fired, if you can help it. This is a lot better for your health, so just use a wet sponge when you're at this phase of making it. Okay, that feels pretty smooth. So for the next step, I look at the ghost and I sort of see if one side looks more like where the face should be than the other. I feel like this looks more like a face side to me. So usually for the faces, I would paint on just using some Amico Jet Black Velvet Underglaze for the eyes, but I am currently out of my Amico Underglaze, so I'm just using, I have a teaspoon of black stain. That's the, what is it, 6600 or 6000? It's the black stain that I use in my night glaze. So 1 teaspoon of that, 1 teaspoon of Grizzly Berry, and just some water. So, so in a pinch, that works fine as well. So one of the benefits to doing the face during this stage, when it's still greenware, is that if it's really bad, you can scrape it off and sort of sponge over that area and do it again. Okay. If you happen to be a messy painter, definitely watch out if your fingers get down towards the end of your brush, then you get kind of black on your hands. And since the ghosts I'm doing are white, that black can really show up a little bit more. So, where is your face, ghost? It's maybe like here. Oh, that's a great angle though. Somewhere easier I could do it. Jet black underglaze, I would probably do 2 coats, but on my second one, I just sort of go in the interior of it so that I'm not having to make that outside line again. I would just sort of darken up the very center a little bit. Okay, my ghosts are out of the bisque kiln. And my next step is to glaze the bottoms. So what I'm doing here is I just use a lid from a glaze container. I put a little bit too much in there. I'm gonna take a little out. So I'm really looking for the smallest amount of wax on this lid. And I usually will use a lid. I'm trying to not waste my wax. So this is out of the bisque. It's got the face painted in underglaze. So I'm just going to, and I don't want the wax to be deep because I don't want it to come up over the edge of the ghost at all. So I'm just gonna dip it. I'm gonna set it on my rack down here. So this is a really, really quick method of doing this. I don't do this on my mugs and other cups because I like the wax to be just to the edge. And here you can see it'll come up a little bit over, but because these are white and the clay is white, it's not really jarring to have that small amount. And because the bottoms are so uneven, they all sit slightly differently. So some parts aren't touching. So if you were painting the wax on, it's almost hard to tell where it needs to be. But because your lid is flat, when you're putting it in, you're only waxing those points where the glaze is going to be, touching the kiln shelf. Okay. So I'm just going to go through these really quick because there's a lot of them. For the next step in the ghosts, you could really just dip them all in clear glaze and be fine with it. I do it a little bit differently because I like the very opaque white, but I don't necessarily want to have to do the face afterwards. So what I do is I dip to white just so that it doesn't cover the face, and then I'll dip again on just the face in clear. So you can see here, just up to the face. All ready for the clear top coat over the faces. Ghosts are ready for their last step. So you can see where the white glaze ends. So I'm going to take it and dip it in clear, just till here. So on this one, you can see I dipped it a little bit too far up. So I'm just gonna wipe back his mouth a little bit there. Okay, so I just dribbled a little bit of clear glaze on the top of that, that's fine. So we're taking him, and he's going upside down in the bucket. Oops, you'll be able to see where it doesn't cover. Just making sure that I got him completely. Trouble dipping that last little bit. I'll just touch it with a brush. Oops, a little bit too much on my brush. So holding him by the outer edges. Double checking that I got the whole thing. When it's dry, you can sort of see where the wax is, but I'm going to touch where the wax is with this just to make sure that there's nothing left. Looks great. So this is ready to go in the kiln. And here they are out of the kiln. You can sort of see, if you look closely, you can see the line between the white glaze and the clear glaze, but it really doesn't show. The white glaze, because it's thicker, definitely can soften these edges a little bit more and give that more of an opaque white. These little ones are so cute. So slab thickness, I've done some with thicker slabs and some with thinner slabs. Sometimes with my rolling pin, I'll even feather out the edges so that it's thicker in the middle here, easier to keep the head from cracking, but thinner along the edge so that it looks more like a sheet. And you can sort of see, looking at the top of this, sort of the direction of the movement. You're definitely going for something that's going to look unique in these.